Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter. Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I'm John Parker. It is 33 minutes after the hour. I'm also streaming on our YouTube channel right now, and if you like what we're doing, subscribe, click like, leave a comment. You know the routine. Ilana Masad is a writer of fiction, nonfiction, and criticism whose work has been widely published. She holds a PhD from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and is the author of the novels All My Mother's Lovers and Beings, as well as the co-editor of the forthcoming anthology Here for All the Reasons Why We Watch The Bachelor. And I highly recommend Beings. It is exquisitely written. You can watch my interview with Ilana earlier in the fall, all about that. We'll link to it here in the video as well, and in our show notes and on our website. And starting today, I'm very excited to announce, and then thereafter on the third Friday of every month, Ilana is going to join us here on the radio and on YouTube to share with us queer books that we should be reading. Ilana, so happy to have you back on the Gaily Show.
So happy to be here and so excited to be joining in for a regular segment.
Yes, yes. And given the knowledge of books that you have and are able to preview and review and whatnot for publications all across the country, I am very, very interested to know what is our first book that you are recommending to our listeners / viewers today.
The first book I'm going to recommend is The Future Was Color by Patrick Nathan, which I understand you actually spoke to at one point, although that was not deliberate on my part.
Patrick is amazing.
Yeah, I have been thinking about that book a lot because of its kind of its historical nature, but also how it feels so very relevant to our current time. So it's about a screenwriter and a Hungarian emigre who fled the world wars to the United States. And he has become a screenwriter in Hollywood during the height of McCarthyism. And the book kind of jumps around in time a little bit, goes into some flashback, but in its present day, a lot of the tension is about his relationship with his co-writing partner, Jack, and his deep attraction to Jack, and his friendship with a movie star and her gay husband and the gay husband's kind of boy toy. And at the same time as there's sort of all of this kind of sexy drama going on and questions about, who's going to sleep with whom and what does the gay milieu of the 1950s in LA and its environs look like? There is also sort of the steady beat of repression from the outside, as well as the kind of shocking nature of that the United States was still grappling with at the time of the existence of the atomic bomb. It was the early days of what would come to be called the Cold War, and this sort of ability that we suddenly had to blow entire cities to smithereens and kill, so many people all in one go was just really shocking to a lot of people. And how do you live in a world where that is possible? And how do you deal with also being able to enjoy things in your life, right? Which feels like a very relevant question today. I feel like a lot of the time I spend on social media is kind of watching people warring between an attempt to sort of share the small moments in life that are giving us hope and our kind of constant scolding of one another to do something, because we all feel so helpless that even when we are doing something, it feels like it's not enough. It feels like it's never enough. And so that book really does a lot of grappling with that notion. And I know that Patrick Nathan's previous book, Image Control, is nonfiction, and that book was about very much how kind of activism was turned into like bite-sized slides via Instagram, and just kind of the complexity of being glued to your screen, being told what you should be doing, but also feeling unable to go and do it. And it was about, how images were really kind of meant to be controlling us, and meant to keep our eyes on the screen, ironically, even as they were telling us, go and do something, go touch grass, go, volunteer. But the algorithmic nature of these spaces were keeping us not going and doing those things. So I know that he's interested in that sort of tension anyway, and has been for a long time. And so to see him sort of turn his glorious writing into this beautiful fictional world, where he's grappling, with feelings of exile and, from being an emigre, being someone who had to kind of assimilate to Americanness, especially in order to succeed in Hollywood, being someone living a secret that is so dangerous it could get him arrested or get him thrown in front of the, House Un-American House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC. Yes.
Yeah.
That just is so complex, and yet the book is also just so visually and linguistically rich. It's really like kind of eating a very dark chocolate ice cream.
It's delightful.
It is.
Both the ice cream and the novel. There is towards the end of the novel, there's a visual that I just can't get out of my head. And even when I think of the novel now, that's what I think of. And towards the end, and it's as an Armenian American whose family are descendants of the genocide, my grandparents and great grandparents, like they survived it, and like stuff that they went through in France and here in the US of the acclamation, and how do you think about things like when George is reading these newspapers of the Hungarian uprising, and I want to be mindful to say, obviously very different world experiences, life experiences, but to be in the States and watching something happening on the other side of an ocean that you're like, you support it, but do you support it, and what's going to happen, and do I say something, can I not say something? All of that was just pressing all the right buttons. I was like, oh my God, like, yes, because there was the recognition of it, and then just the way that Patrick navigates that, and also the queer milieu and the patterns of acceptance and non-acceptance, and the compromises that queer people found themselves having to make or not even realize they were making through the multiple characters that you meet in the book. It's such an amazing portraiture. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for like classic Hollywood and 1950s Hollywood. So if you've got a novel for me that's about any part of Hollywood, I don't know why, I'm just like a sucker for it. Give it to me.
Okay, I'm gonna keep that in mind for our next segment. I definitely have a couple in mind. Yes, actually, let's do Delayed Raise of a Star next time.
Oh, I don't know that one. I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, Patrick Nathan's The Future Was Color, highly recommend. Also writes a fantastic Substack. And if y'all are like, hey, I want to try that out, I don't know if you subscribe to it, Ilana. I've got a couple of gift subscriptions that I can give to folks.
Awesome.
So if you want to DM me on Blue Sky, I will happily give you one. It's called Entertainment Weekly, but weekly is spelled like WEAKLY.
Yeah.
And just started it up again. He did in the fall. So if you want that, let me know. DM me on Blue Sky. I'll hand that out to you. All right. We are talking with Ilana Masad, writer of fiction, nonfiction, and criticism, who joins us now, starting today, monthly on the third Friday of the month, to share with us queer books that we all need to be reading. Ilana, what is our next book?
Our next book is Confidence by Rafael Frumpkin, which came out a couple of years ago. And it is also very relevant to our contemporary world, but is coming from a much more humorous kind of perspective. So it is about two men and who meet when they're in a kind of pre-juvie sort of space, like a school that's kind of like the last resort before juvie, because they're both kind of petty criminals, and they sort of maybe fall in love, question mark. At least Ezra, our main character, falls in love with Orson, who is the other boy at the time. And then as they grow up, they begin to sort of perpetuate a series of cons and become con men, hence the title Confidence, as con men is short for confidence men. And what begins as kind of just a series of scams eventually becomes a cult that Orson is kind of at the head of, and that Ezra is kind of bumbling his way through, trying to cover for Orson, trying to help Orson. Orson at some point starts dating a woman for show, basically, is what he explains to Ezra, but it's clear to the reader that Ezra is slowly being replaced. And it's, it feels very much like if you sort of took the producers, like Mel Brooks's The Producers, and
not the reference I was expecting.
Mel Brooks's The Producers and the NXIVM cult, and kind of smash them together in terms of, on the one hand, the audacious ridiculousness of these men's behaviors, and the homoerotic kind of nature of it, and the absolute like deadly serious danger that NXIVM ended up putting people in. And it's a really fascinating exploration of how kind of capitalist culture and consumerist culture can so easily veer into cultish behavior and culture. And that just feels so relevant to, the wellness industry, to the many kind of weird cults we see popping up here and there in the last, couple of decades. And then the commodification of those cults via documentaries, and it's just all such a like messy stew, you could think of things like MAGA as a cult, right? QAnon, just all of this is so deeply embedded with capitalist ideals, right? Like there is always behind these cults, especially these modern cults, there's always a grift behind them. There's always like a money-making scheme behind them. It's not, I'm sure there are some cult leaders out there who had very sincere beliefs about what they were doing, at least some of them, at least for a time, right? I think Heaven's Gate, for instance, was a deeply sincere, albeit very upsetting cult. But
is it appropriate to laugh? Oh my God.
Yeah, we all laugh when we're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We can talk about Heaven's Gate another time. Maybe I'll find a good book about it that I can recommend. But anyway, it sort of shows how like the grift is ultimately essential to kind of the modern cult. It's also just very funny. It's a very funny book. So it's a very sort of speedy read, but also makes you think a lot about that relationship between capitalism and self-betterment and Americanism, and how somehow spirituality gets kind of tucked into there along the way.
I receive a lot of pitches from, for authors to be on the show or to review stuff. And I'm like, I don't have time to review stuff. I don't think I have ever been pitched The Producers meets NXIVM cult.
I used to work for a literary agent, so like I unfortunately excel at finding comps and managing to put together things that seem disparate in order to sell something. So you're welcome.
I gotta take a break. I can't stop laughing. You are listening to The Gaily Show on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter. More with Ilana Masad when we come back. Welcome back to the Gaily Show. We're coming up on the top of the hour. I am John Parker. She's the author of the exquisite new novel, Beings, which came out earlier this fall and starting today. And then every third Friday of the month, Ilana Masad will join us here on the Gaily Show to share with us queer books that we need to be reading. Before the break, we were talking about The Future Was Color by Patrick Nathan and Confidence by Rafael Frumpkin. Ilana, what is our third book for today?
Our third book is Blue-Skinned Gods by S.J. Sindu, which is about a boy who is born with blue skin in Tamil Nadu, India. And when he is born with this skin, his parents believe him to be the 10th human incarnation of the Hindu god Vishnu. And as a result, they raise him in a growing ashram. People come to visit and request his blessings. They pray with him. And he grows up in this very strict environment where he is, protected as a god, but also shielded from regular life. He tries to make friends. He has friends, sort of, but like sometimes he's sort of moved away from them. Like he wants to play cricket with the other boys, but he's not supposed to get dirty and do such, regular things as play cricket. And there's also this sort of complex power dynamic between him and the people that he does befriend, because they're usually his servants, like literally, or the children of his family's servants. And as a result, again, it means he's also just meant to be served by everyone because he is a god, and he is the incarnation of a god. And when he turns 10, there are 3 trials he has to pass that sort of will prove that he is Vishnu. And although he passes them, he begins to have doubts in his own divinity. And so the first half of the book is kind of him growing up and grappling with what it means to be a child god, and to be raised to be of such ultimate importance. And in the second half of the novel, he has sort of passed puberty, and he has left home, or he's trying to leave, and sort of leave his father behind. And he finds new friends. He finds a music scene. He discovers queerness, and discovers that he is queer. And he kind of, again, needs to figure out, like, what does it mean that I maybe was a god or am a god? What do I do with that information? And how is that story about him and that kind of notoriety that comes with him also something that, regardless of his own beliefs, can be used by other people, even when he's an adult? And it's beautifully written. It's very much a page turner. And I mean, I love everything that S.J. Sindu writes. And this was her most recent novel. And it really, sort of like with the other books that we talked about, it has these questions of identity, and secrecy and self-knowledge and self-doubt within it, and kind of the power dynamics that are sometimes chosen for us, that sometimes we don't choose ourselves, and how those are part of our daily lives and relationships, and how we deal with those and how we can change them as adults or not. Oh, excuse me, there's a cat that jumped up right in front of me.
Oh, can't talk about books without a cat.
True.
I'm curious, what are the stakes for 10-year-old Kulki when they've got to go through these trials, 3 trials? Like, what happens if they don't pass them?
Well, exactly. What does happen then?
Okay, no spoilers. Okay.
Well, no, I don't mean that, just like in the sense of he's not sure either, because again, he's been raised this way and has been sort of sold to the world as the 10th incarnation of Vishnu. And his parents have built up an entire ashram and a business basically around him. And so can he afford not to pass these trials? Is there any part of this that he sort of has to do? Because how how much will he disappoint everyone? How much will he disappoint himself?
Yeah.
If all of these people who have been paying for him to bless them and who have been paying for the pleasure of his, who have been gifting the ashram, gifts of money, gifts of food, what will they think if he doesn't pass these trials? Which is a lot of pressure for a 10-year-old. I mean, I know that we're very much used to the sort of superhero genre these days, but I feel like even superheroes, we still don't consider them fully gods. And so if we think of the pressure that our various superheroes are under, how much more pressure if you were told that you were, the mythical, long-awaited 10th incarnation of a god that has been around for thousands of years. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot for a little boy to hold, especially in so much isolation. When his parents and his aunt and uncle and his cousin are really the only sort of close people in his life, because again, he's not allowed to be friends with regular old people.
Wow. Wow, it's reminding me of the novel Tombs of Acheron by Ursula K. Le Guin. Similar situation where a goddess priestess dies, and the child who is born, the girl child who's born immediately in that minute, is considered the reincarnation of her, and she's taken to the temple, and there's all sorts of power dynamics at play in politics. And that's all I can say about that right now, because we are out of time. The books that Ilana is recommending for us today: The Future Was Color by Patrick Nathan, Confidence by Rafael Frumpkin, Blue Skinned Gods by S.J. Sindu. We have links in our show notes on our website for you to get your very own copies of these. Also included in there is a link to get your own copy of Ilana's new novel, Beings, and you can connect with her on her website as well at ilanamasad.com. That's ILANA Masad, MASAD.com. Ilana, thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here next month.
Thank you so much, John.
All right, folks, up next on WCPT 820 is Choose Views with Richard Chu here in Minneapolis on AM 950 Radio. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Native Radio after that, and at 10 p.m. Central, Ghostbox Radio. Until this time tomorrow, Monday, rather, keep it queer, America.